Okay, the very first thing we're going to do in Inventor is make one cube. By now, you should have measured all those wooden cubes, and hopefully you know the size of those cubes because you know how to read a dial caliper or a ruler, really. These cubes, the wooden cubes, they should be 0.75, approximately 0.75 by 0.75 by 0.75 inches. So in order to make one cube, we're going to start by opening up the Inventor file. Now, something important that you need to understand is we have Inventor 2019. We should have 2019 on most of the computers. Every now and then, if I switch out a computer because one of them is broken and I need it to get repaired, it might have Inventor 2017 on it, and so you might, since it looks identical, you might accidentally open a 2017 file. The only problem with that is you can only access newer files. Like, so if you have an Inventor 2019 file, you could only open it with Inventor 2019. If you have Inventor 2017 file, you could open it up with Inventor 2019. But you cannot open an Inventor 2019 file on Inventor 2017. So you can't go backwards. So if anything, just have the most updated version. If you don't, just keep in mind that's going to be an issue. So really the only time I see this being a problem is if you had always worked on 2019 and then one day you come in and you switch computers, or I had switched out that computer and now it only has 2017 on there. So you can't continue working on the 2019 file on a 2017 Inventor program. So keep that in mind. If that's the case, then hopefully you could switch to another computer, or there's another computer that has it, or you could just, work on another project until it gets updated, because it takes a while for the computers to update. Okay, whenever you open Inventor, if you open it for the very first time, it should say Get Started. I think Get Started. Either one is like learn about it, or it'll like teach you like steps and videos. You just want to go ahead and start working right away. You might see something that says a part, drawing, assembly, and presentation. So a part file is making like each individual part. So you'll make like your puzzle cube parts. And then once you make, so for a puzzle cube, I believe you have 5 parts. So once you make 5 parts, then you'll create an assembly file which pulls the part files into there. And then you assemble it together in here. And then once you assemble it, you might create a drawing file, or you might create a presentation file. When you do a drawing file, it's like the parts are dimensioned. It looks like a fancy blueprint you might have seen back in the day, some movie or something like that. But it'll have specifics of the size, the dimensions you need to create that part. A presentation file is where it solves, there's animation. You see the puzzle cube moving around. So the very first thing we need to do is create parts. So we're going to start by making the most basic of basic, which is a cube. So I'll say I want to create a part. You also could click on New, right? And then this part will pop up. So New, you have the choice between making a metric, which is the centimeters and the meters, millimeters, right? We're not doing sheet metal. We're just doing standard. So you could either create a millimeter one, or you could create one in inches. This is the same thing. Creating a standard part is the same thing as clicking this. So we click here maybe, and I hit create. Okay. So we have this open space, X, Y, and then Z is facing towards me. You can't see the blue pointing towards me. You want to start a 2D sketch. And like imagine this to be a tabletop, right? And then this is going up and down, and then this is going from side to side. I always like starting on the table, the XZ plane. So if I click on it, it says, oh, okay, you want to start on looking straight on top, or looking right on top of the table. Right here, I have a choice between creating a rectangle, right, to create that square shape, and then popping it up, or I could use a line. In this case, since we have a square shape, it'd actually be smarter to use rectangle. You could do different types of rectangles, 3-point, 2-point, right? You want to mess around with this, maybe, and then figure out sometimes in some situations it's easier to use different ones. If not, just click the big one here. If you want to do line, then you'd have to do 4 points, right? You'd have to, here, I'll show you both. Rectangle, click here. When it turns green, it means it's locking into the origin, the middle. So I like the origin. Some people argue and say don't start with there because it'll kind of like lock you in there. But I like it whenever I see the colors change and turns green like this. So click here, and I want this dimension to be 0.75. And then I could go over here and click this one. And I'll say, and you could say 0.75 again and hit enter. And then if you click here, kind of focuses in on the object you have. So you could do this, or this is the undo button. You could also click on line. And I want it to turn green. Again. And then where it's highlighted this dark blue, I could type 0.75 and hit enter. And then make sure it locks in that 90 degrees and type 0.75, enter. Locks in 90 degrees, 0.75, enter. Enter. And then if I click here, it should automatically be the correct dimensions, 0.75. Make sure it turns green like that so it knows it's closing in on the shape and making this rectangle. So 2 ways to making this rectangle. If you click here, you could see this is kind of like on top of the table. I drew this square. And then you can extrude this. You have to finish the sketch first. Hit finish. And then I could extrude it. Now automatically, since this is the only object I have, it thinks, oh, okay, you want to extrude this, meaning you want to pop this thing up. Yes, I do. So, but instead of 1 inch, I want it to be 0.75. So I hit enter. That's my first cube. If I scroll with my mouse like this, I could go in and out. Wherever my mouse is, if I have my mouse over in this corner and I scroll in, it's going to zoom in here. And then if I scroll out, it just zooms out. If I wanted to zoom in at this corner, if I scroll as I have my mouse in this area, it'll zoom in there. Always click on this little house, especially if you're trying to show me something, because I don't really like looking at this view or this view or this view. You can click on the corners. I like this isometric view the most because it's easy for me to see what you've done with your shape. Another thing you can do, you could push down on your scroll button, the scrolly part, and then you could drag it over. I guess I can't do it on my mouse here right now. And it should make like a little hand thing. It should look like this if you click down on your mouse. You could also add color to this by going, if you click on this one, it does patterns. So I can make it like this square pattern, right? Which looks kind of funny. I could do this aluminum. What if I do this anodized gray? That doesn't look that great either. This one looks kind of funny. You could do these patterns. So if it's like a wood thing, you could put a wood color on it. If it's supposed to be like shiny or pink, you have these options. You just select the whole object and then click this little arrow up. Oh, I already did it once, doesn't like it. Another thing you could do is add a color to it. So for our puzzle cubes, usually it's just going to be a single color. So it might be the red part, yellow part. If you click on, not this one, on this one, it's going to do it by color. So I select the color I want it to be. Let's say I want this to be blue. And then I can, nope, or not. Okay, hold on. Let's just undo. There we go. There we go. And then hit OK. Check around. Does it look blue on the bottom too? Yep, looks pretty good. Let's click that little house again. So that's one part. And that's it.